everyone, to another new episode of Grow Your Path to Wellness. Last week we had a cancellation, but this week we are back and we welcome Lori Saitz. We're going to talk about using meditation for business success and break down the lie that we were told that hard work is the only way to reach success. So a little bit about Lori. She is the founder and CEO of Zen Rabbit and host of the podcast Fine is a Four-Letter Word. She's an award-winning writer, speaker, broadcaster, and Lori is on a mission to teach the world to be calm and grounded no matter what is going on. So she's a nationally recognized gratitude and meditation expert. She guides entrepreneurs and business leaders to, sorry, I'm going to help with my screen look better. She guides entrepreneurs and business leaders from interactive approaches, and she provides tools and techniques for increasing sales, enhancing relationships, and improving overall health. When she's not working, you can find Lori in her sanctuary, aka the weight room at the gym. She also likes cupcakes, Thai food, and classic rock music. Welcome, Lori. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. Awesome, Lori. I'm so excited to have you. I know when we initially met and had our first call, we definitely aligned, and I always appreciate when we find like-minded humans out there that are doing good in the world and really sharing the tips and tricks of the world and universe that no one's really teaching in society. So thank you so much for being here. I know Kelsi was able to share your bio, but tell us, about you outside of, what we've already heard, and why are you so passionate about this topic today?
Yeah, well, I have many, many years of background in marketing. Started my first business in 2003, was making and marketing a product called the Gratitude Cookie. And that was based on a family recipe created as a way for businesses to say thank you to their clients and referral sources. Ran that business for 11 years and when I was doing that, was also talking a lot about how to use gratitude to differentiate your business. And then that expanded to talking about gratitude as how it can improve your life. And so ran that business for 11 years, couldn't quite scale it the way I wanted to, shut it down, did more marketing, taught some networking strategies, and then during pandemic came back to this whole concept of helping people feel more calm and grounded, because they certainly needed it then, but we still need it today. And so the reason I'm so passionate about it is because imagine what the world would be like if everyone could come from a place where they are responding instead of reacting from the reptilian brain. If everybody has the responsibility to do that for themselves, like you can't change anyone else. I'm sure we'll get into talking about that. But if everybody could find that way to do it for themselves, imagine what the entire world would be like.
Now, I love, we always talk about with people here, we always talk about the importance of pivoting. Pivoting what we're doing, when we're doing it, or how we're doing it. And I think you're a prime example of that. So good for you. And did you guys meet at your network group? I know it's something different now. So I wanted to make sure that that's how we connected, because I know Amanda connected us in this way. So
Yeah.
Is that how you guys met?
Yeah. So many wonderful, beautiful humans that I've met in that process. And
I wish that I lived up there. I was like, oh my gosh, another person from there.
Oh, but
well, you don't have to live anywhere. It's virtual.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not in the same area.
Where are you at, Lori?
I'm in Northern Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C.
Why did I think it was a local to you thing? Okay.
Well, we have a local group, we do have local people, each group is, okay, sorry, we're swirling, but each group kind of has local people, but you can network with people within the whole group virtually anywhere. So yeah, that's how we met.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So Laura, for our listeners, I know maybe we'll have you, if you'd be interested, coming back and talking more on gratitude, because I know today we were going to kind of focus on meditation as the core here, but I think there's a lot of myths and misconceptions around meditation and what people, envision whenever we talk about it, and people kind of eye roll about it and blow it off. So can you and we break down some of those myths and misconceptions surrounding what meditation is.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, people hear about it and they get this idea like, oh, it's something I should be doing, which can we eliminate the word should as well? Because it just tends to shame people. So they have this belief planted in their head that meditation might be good for them, but they also have a belief that they're not good at it. And so what does that even mean? Like, it's like, I'm not good at what? So they typically that comes from somewhere they were taught, or they came, the idea came to them that meditation is like sitting on a mat, cross-legged for hours at a time in complete silence, right, Amanda? In complete silence with no thoughts in their head.
I was going to say,
And
my clients, I bring it up to them. Sorry, not to cut you off, but
no,
they'll
go
be
ahead.
like, I came to you because I have too many thoughts. Like I have racing thoughts and they're overwhelming. And I was like, for one, it's a practice. It's not something we're going to like ever achieving greatness at. Like we need to practice it, but also meditation is not about stopping or controlling thoughts. And I think that's one of the biggest ones that we hear. So
yeah, absolutely. So that people have this misconception around what meditation is, and then therefore tell themselves that they're not good at it.
You know what blows my mind as I'm hearing this? Like, I know this and I talk to clients about it all the time too, but like, just as we're, you know how you read the same book over and over, you get something different out of it. Yeah, right. And so like, what just hit me was like, as you're like, oh, I'm not good at it. And it's like, wait, this is a new skill. Like if you were gonna like, I don't know, join a co-ed soccer team and you've never played soccer before, like you're going to have to learn how to play soccer. If you want to play an instrument, you're not just going to magically sit at the piano and play and be good at it. So it's like so interesting to me that that's our immediate, and you know, that comes from that primal, you were mentioning reptilian survival is like discomfort, scary, and your brain is kind of like giving you the same signals as if like there's threat, we could die, let's not do that, right? And so if we get in our head too much, we won't ever do anything new.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, that's such a good analogy. Exactly. So the other thing I hear a lot is I don't have time. I don't have time because I think they need an hour or several hours a day. I don't have time. And so there's been research that even 3 minutes a day, just focusing on your breathing, can have such amazing consequences. I was going to say, that's not the right word. Amazing benefits. I guess it could be a consequence, but yes, 3 minutes a day. Like you don't have 3 minutes a day. And I create 10-minute meditations when I'm doing them, because that's like, again, it's just a really manageable amount of time. The other thing that gets into it is they think they have to sit in silence, so they can't do like a guided meditation, which I find, especially for people who are starting out, is really beneficial, because then you can bring yourself back to the meditation teacher's voice. You can always bring yourself back to your breathing, but if there's a voice that's guiding you, it helps keep your mind a little more occupied.
Yes. And whenever you bring it up, right? And we're coming from a therapist perspective, but I bring up meditation and I instantly see them kind of disconnect from me. I'm like, okay, pause, wait. And I said, you can do this guided, right? Like this, and you don't even have to visualize, right? They're like, well, I'm not good at that. So that you got to break down the like expectation, but also I'm like, just focus on your body.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and sometimes depending on that person, sometimes it takes a minute to feel safe to do that. But like I did a really good intensive mindfulness based certification training, and they did one like just walk around your room and pay attention to what your feet feel like in your shoes and the pressure of your feet as they walk. Where do you notice the pressure when you're walking from heel to toe and so on? And when people realize how many different types or ways that you can, because mindfulness is paying attention to the present moment on purpose without judgment. So whenever you start getting in there with people, and I'm excited for people to listen to this because they're like, So you don't just sit on a mat in a room and either have to visualize something or just breathe and not think.
Yeah. And that's another thing I work with people on too, is understanding that you don't have to always be sitting. You could lie down, you could walk like you're talking about. A lot of times they just have so much energy, they can't sit still. And another great tactic for that is put on your favorite music, a song, and dance for 3 minutes. Like, that whole phrase, dance like no one's watching. Yes, do that and get that energy out and then sit if that's the way you want to do it. Or you could do the walking like you're talking about. And people are like, wait, that's meditation? Yeah, it can be, as long as you're not being distracted by, your electronics. I wouldn't recommend, it's not a practice. I don't consider it a practice of meditation if you're listening to that super dance music as you're dancing. I mean, you're getting into your body, so it is beneficial, but like the real point of meditation is to get into that space so that you can hear your inner voice and to find that, I'm not going to even say silence, but that quiet voice that may have been buried for years by other people's voices and then by all the distractions that we have in the world.
Like the actual awareness.
Yes.
Right. And like, I think people have this misconception, because what we think is meditation is like the Buddhist monk sitting on a mountain. Right.
Right.
And I tell people, those folks likely, they're not living in America with all the capitalism and all, right. Like they don't have to do and achieve and produce and be on all the time. Right. And so our bodies are so very primal still, and yet our technology and society is so advanced that we think that we should be able to keep up with that. And we spend so much time keeping up with that we're not actually in this body. Or I always like give this image that like our brain is way ahead of us and we're just dragging the rest of our body along. And then we're like, why am I in pain? Why can't I sleep? Why do I have headaches? And so that gets into a whole other topic. But like when you say like it's not necessarily like silence or like quiet, it's like, for me it's like a way, like you're actually present in here rather than distracted or focused on something else.
Yeah, exactly. And you were talking about how in America, in the Western world, and really it's becoming the whole world, people are so pressured to do all the things and keep up. And that's been wired into us since birth. And that belief that hard work equals success. And it's a big fat freaking lie. It is not true. It's up to everybody as an individual, each individual, to define what success is for them. But it's not what someone else tells you it is. It's definitely not that. And again, that comes back to why it's so important to get in touch with your inner voice. That's the place where you're going to hear, what does success look like for me?
I love this so much. And I feel like it's a perfect segue to talking about rewiring your brain. So if you've developed this core belief that my worth is derived out of what I can produce or do or whatever for others, how do we go about rewiring some of those belief patterns and even misconceptions to be able to engage in more healthy habits and have a better outlook?
That in part comes back to meditation, of, again, allowing yourself to hear what is true for you, because we are, again, wired since birth to be listening to parents and teachers and friends and society, and now social media. We've always had traditional media. Everybody's telling you what you should do, who you should be, how you should act. Never mind, they can't run their own lives, but they're going to tell you how to do yours. And you think you need to listen. So it's taking a step back and going, okay, what is my truth? And being able to hear that. And then, a lot of meditations can be a way to reprogram and rewire your brain. when you're listening to guided meditations, especially when you're doing it in the morning, right when you wake up before you're fully awake, and at night when you're falling asleep, when you're in that in-between state between awake and asleep. That's when your brain is in alpha. And that's when your brain is most susceptible. Alpha and then theta is the next level down. But that's when your brain is the most susceptible to messaging, which is why it's so crucial to not fall asleep watching the news. I mean, I highly recommend never watching the news, but definitely not right before you're falling asleep.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that again, that kind of goes back to finding what works for you. I think so many folks, like we have so many neurodivergent folks and so many like overly anxious folks that they feel like they need that to find any calm because they weren't given any skills to find that on their own. And so that can be a tough transition. So I think even just like even recommending guided meditations on YouTube or Calm or Headspace or whatever that is, sometimes doesn't work for folks. So then it might be, okay, you should be one-on-one, or you might want to try one-on-one, or in like a meditation class or even yoga class where there's guided meditation, where you actually have the presence of somebody else as like an accountability or a body double, if that makes sense to their brain. But you really have to find what works for you, because your brain's going to go with whatever it's information it's receiving, and that's the narrative it's going to derive from it, right? And so you do have the power to retrain that. Are there any other ways other than that meditation that you recommend for folks for rewiring?
I just want to touch on, you brought up a really good point about finding what works for you, because not everything is for everyone. And again, it comes back to that misconception around people believe there's one way to do meditation. And it's always, I recommend people just keep looking, because there is going to be something that works for you. Trust and have faith that there is something and you can find it. So I'm not an expert in EFT, emotional freedom technique, and tapping. That's another way though that people can rewire their brain. You mentioned visualization earlier, which to me, not all meditations are visualization, but visualization tends to be best done in a meditative state. What else is there? I mean, so affirmations, I'm not a big fan of affirmations in their traditional sense. What do you guys think of affirmations?
Again, they have to like make sense for the person, and they have to be realistic. So I tell people, I don't know, there's a couple of schools of thought on this. Like, I know that there are researchers and other folks that would disagree, and they would have to say like, even if you don't believe it, say it anyway until you do. And I'm like, for me saying that, it feels so disingenuous and so disconnected that it feels fake. So I tell people, don't be corny with yourselves. Like, if to say like, I am living my best life feels and misaligns with you, say like, I'm doing better every day, or we're not gonna, like, it has to be realistic for yourself. And then maybe once you start to believe that, then you can, change it a little more and change it a little more. So that's my perspective. I think Kelsi probably has something similar.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, at the instant, the first thing, it's a thing out there is like that. I feel like affirmations can really easily fall in there with like toxic positivity. And I feel like, I think we have a unique perspective, because I see the impact that has on people and their mental health. Like, if they're really struggling and you look at somebody and say, just smile and be happy. That's not an actual affirmation, but sometimes I've seen those, and they're like, it almost just exacerbates, their symptoms and things. So yeah, I'm not like against them, but I do think I do a lot of groundwork with my clients before we ever get to anything like that. It sounds like, you would use those really early on, and that would be just really helpful. But if you don't know what it is, what do I need? What are my values? Where do I, see myself wanting to go? Even if I don't believe I'm capable of that yet, like, I kind of take a different, like, kind of a bottom up approach before I ever integrate anything like affirmations. So
yeah, we could also be gaslighting a lot of people too. Like, if I think about like the most significantly oppressed and marginalized populations, to be like, everything's gonna be fine, right? Like, that's yeah, that's not really realistic. So there you go. There's our 2 cents on it, Lori. We could clearly go on forever.
So
what do you think?
recently I've come up with this idea that, I mean, I've always believed the affirmations in the way that we're typically taught them don't work. The reason why is because you're saying them to your conscious mind. And the conscious mind, as you guys know, runs 5% of the show, maybe. And the subconscious, or the other than conscious mind, is what's running 95% of it. So if you're in the beta state, which is awake, like we are right now, and you're telling your mind everything's great, or I'm super powerful, or your conscious mind is like, no, you're not. It's blocking it from getting into your subconscious, which is where your beliefs are buried. So you're not changing anything. So I think that affirmations have a place if you are running them on a tape, or, a tape, like how old am I? But on a recording, as again, when your brain is in that alpha and theta states and it's running into the subconscious. So if it's part of a meditation, for example, and it's getting reinstalled, like you're reprogramming, actually just like a computer, reinstalling beliefs at the subconscious level. I believe, though, also affirmations can be used as a soothing tool when you are in conscious state. Like you're scared to do something. You're like, everything is always working out for me. Everything is always working out for me. I've found value in running that statement to kind of just bring myself into, okay, calm down. Like everything's cool. Everything's cool. As a kind of a self-soothing tool, but it's not rewiring my brain.
I love that you categorize that as self-soothing. Thank you so much for that. Because yes, like I can do hard things.
Yeah.
Like sometimes that's just what I need. Like it's like my little coach or cheerleader to myself. Like, all right, just keep breathing. Or maybe it's even me telling what to do next. Like, let's just drink water. That always helps us. Like it could just be something like even just kind of narrating as well. Right. So good. So good.
And you brought up EFT. Oh, sorry.
That was just what I was going to say too. Like EFT or EMDR, or other interventions like that, where you are getting into, like when you're tapping and you're getting that bilateral stimulation and you're turning off the stress response and getting more into the subconscious. That's where I was literally thinking of tapping scripts. And that's probably what Kelsi was going to say, is like, that might come into play when you're tapping, where it's like the typical, even though I'm feeling so anxious right now, I love and accept myself. Right. And so like that's, but for me, that's like valid. It's like, okay, like we're integrating it. So good.
Yeah. And I think journaling can help also, because it helps make you more aware of what your beliefs are. And you can't change anything, or it's very difficult to change things that you're not aware of.
And I think too, like I know, like we said, we'll probably save gratitude for another day because it is different. And I love it too. But I just have to say here that when I do recommend journaling, one of the places I start out with folks is on more of like the integrating statements or meditation along with gratitude, because gratitude is present moment focused. Like I'm not focused on in the future, where sometimes our anxious, predictive thoughts live. It can be past focused, but I like gratitude because it kind of forces you to say, but how has that led to right now?
Yeah.
I'm grateful for things that maybe have happened or people that came into my life, but it still brings it right back to the here and now and integrates it based on where they're at right now. So I also like gratitude in there whenever we do journaling.
I always love to throw out, and we probably shared this in another podcast episode, that there's so many misconceptions around journaling as well. And I know that's also not what we're talking about today, but like I say, it's kind of the same reaction to like meditate. Like, hey, have you tried meditating? It's kind of similar to like, hey, have you tried journaling? And people are just like, oh. Like one person came to me and was like, I didn't like my last therapist. And one of the reasons, like when I was asking, like, what was it about? There was a few, and one of them was, well, they kept trying to ask me to journal. And I was like, all right, we got to figure out how to rewire this, because they think that it has to be like a dear diary and like this perfectly formatted narrative diary entry, love Amanda, right? And I tell people it could be so many things. You could doodle, you could brain dump, you could like there's so many options for journaling.
Color mandalas.
Right.
That's one of my favorites, actually.
I found
so
clients
meditative.
for some that I've had clients for some reason. I don't know if it's like the good old social media, you know, the things that trend out there and people see it and it's actually journaling. But the language that you use, I was like, you know, if you've ever heard of like shadow work, and they're like, I'll do that. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say brain dump or can you just jot that down? Yeah, if you shift the language, it's interesting how that changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's, you know, I mentioned I have all these years of background in marketing. It's rebranding. That's what it is.
I know we kind of touched on this stuff, and I know we're kind of running low on time, but to kind of segue off of, you know, gratitude and those tips, I guess maybe we can wrap up and just talk about like that, the giant lie that we kind of led in here with saying like, you know, we were lied to. These things, if you incorporate these, ritualize them and practice them, they really do help with productivity and achievement. And I guess I don't know how to kind of nicely bring that full circle, but can you talk about that giant lie that we're all told that just working harder will get you there, and why these tools are actually more helpful in being successful?
Yes. So we have this belief that hard work equals success, that if we're not working hard, we are lazy, that we are called to be productive. I have this belief that it needs to be hard. Like life needs to be hard, and anything worth doing needs to be hard and difficult. And that is also a lie. It can be easy. It's supposed to be easy. Like not everything all the time, love and ease, and you never have any hard emotions, that's not what I'm talking about. But this idea that life needs to be pushing a rock up a hill all the time, no, I call BS on that. It can be easy. There's nothing like, it's just as worthwhile if something comes to you easily as if it doesn't.
Yes. And I love that you say that, because I think in our, you know, like we said at the beginning, in our Western world, it's very much so like if something is easy, and again, that is filtered through everybody else's perception, because what's easy for one person might be very challenging for somebody else. But in a nutshell, in a general sense, I think it's like, then you're not working hard enough. If it's easy, and then you got to take on more, and it just, everything around us in the larger scale system of things benefits from that. Everything down to our Amanda, if Amanda was here, she had some tech issues, but we could go on a whole soapbox, and we don't have time for that, so we'll be wrapping up. But everything down to our medical system, like all of it benefits from us just, you know, doing more and constantly wanting, doing more. It's
really amazing what comes to you when you allow ease and flow. That's when things, what's the word I'm looking for? Coincidences happen. You're like, what? How did that happen? Because you're allowing, you're allowing ease and flow. And going back to that whole easy thing, just real quick, is that's why we don't necessarily put value on what comes easily to us.
Yes, 100%. Oh, thank you so much. I know both of us at the end of every episode, I'll say this for Amanda, because she's, again, her computer froze up. But if you ever want to come back and join us with a build off topic or something new, please, we would love to have you back. For our listeners, do you mind kind of sharing some things that, like links or social media accounts or your website somewhere, if somebody wants to find you, they can go to those places and find you?
zenrabbit.com. That's the name of my company, Zen Rabbit. So you can find everything at zenrabbit.com, the links to the socials, the link to, I have a brand new program coming out it's out now, called Staying Calm in Chaos. And that's available at the website as well.
All right. Put that in the show notes for everybody. So thank you again, Lori, for being with us. Everyone, don't forget to like and subscribe. Feel free to comment and leave us any kind of feedback or topics that maybe we haven't covered yet, or you'd like us to kind of look into, and maybe we can seek out and connect with a guest on that topic. Our next episode in a couple of weeks, I think Mel was with us before, so we're going to have Mel Balment, and she's going to be talking on the topic From Chaos to Calm, the 3-phase evolution for empaths navigating our digital age. So I'm excited for that one. But yeah, everyone, make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you for being with us, Lori, and stay tuned. This episode will be posted within the next week or so. All right, take care, everyone.